Everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Evolving Activist. I'm Lauren Morn, and this is Jenny Rae of Rooster House Rescue. And I'm super excited to be here because a little confession, I used to be really scared of birds. So I've been attacked by magpies and ducks and geese and an ostrich.
Wow.
So I'm super excited to be here getting to know these sweet birds and to talk to you about Jenny's activism and this amazing rooster rescue that she started. So Jenny, tell me a little bit about your journey to activist, because Jenny's a vegan activist, an animal activist. She's got a wealth of experience, so I'm interested in your journey.
It's a long journey. I've been doing activism and also animal rescue, which is, goes hand in hand kind of, for, probably 15 years or so.
Yeah.
I've been rescuing chickens, mostly handicapped kind of birds, special needs birds, for about that same amount of time.
Yeah.
I actually worked at Pasado Safe Haven for quite a few years, and I learned a lot of animal caretaking there. I was the farm animal manager there for quite a while, and that's kind of where I found my love for chickens. I did grow up on a farm. Unfortunately, it wasn't,
Right.
a good kind of farm.
It wasn't a good kind of farm. So, oh hi! I have Piglet came to visit me. Hi, sweet girl. So I was surprised when we were talking before that you said that not so many people were excited to volunteer for the farm animal stuff at Pasados.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because I would have thought that would be the draw.
Yeah, it's interesting because even like I was as a vegan when I started volunteering there first. My love was for dogs.
Right.
I just always loved dogs, and so I was drawn to being a volunteer for dogs.
Right.
And I think it's mostly just the fact that we don't really understand farm animals as much,
Right. Yeah.
But when I started seeing that there was a huge need for the farm animal volunteers, I kind of started doing that a little bit more. And then, of course, when I got the job there, I realized very quickly that we needed a lot of help, in the farm animal volunteer side of it.
How long were you with Pasados?
Including the volunteering, probably 6 years, I want to say.
Okay, cool.
6 years maybe.
And then you started Rooster House Rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Why roosters?
Roosters are like the ultimate underdog. They're very misunderstood. There's a huge gap in the rescue world that needed to be filled with roosters. It still needs to be filled. There's they're awesome too. I mean, chickens in general are just really like intelligent and amazing animals, and they don't get enough credit, especially the roosters.
They really don't. And how long have you started this place, what, a year ago?
We've been a nonprofit for just over 2 years.
Okay.
But we've been in Fall City for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Rooster House Rescue is just outside of Seattle in the foothills of the Cascades. And it's a beautiful place. So when you walk in here, you can just feel how serene it is. It really feels like a sanctuary for these beings. And you have roosters and chickens.
Yeah, roosters are chickens, but hens.
Roosters and hens.
Yeah, and we have
not the other kind of chicken.
Yeah, and we have peafowl and ducks and turkeys and dogs and cats, even rescued fish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So, tell me about you grew up on a farm. You weren't born vegan.
No.
How did you make that connection?
I made the connection actually when I was about 8 years old. I went vegetarian. I remember it very distinctly. We were sitting at the table. Actually, I'll just so we lived on like 300 acres. We had cows and pigs and chickens, and then we were surrounded by dairy farms.
Oh, okay.
And my brother and I didn't have like any trees to climb like most kids do outside.
Right.
And so we played with the cows. Like we used to just like play with the cows. That's where our friends.
Right.
And when I was about 8 years old, I remember sitting at the dinner table after like playing outside, and I asked my dad. I noticed that one of the cows wasn't there. One of my favorite cows, and I can't remember her name. Unfortunately, I feel bad, but I asked where she was, and he basically just said, well, what do you think we're eating? And it just like crushed me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't eat. I'm gonna start crying. I couldn't eat like, you know, meat after that, or animals, you know. It was really hard for me too. Yeah. And my mom was really supportive. My dad wasn't so much, but yeah, I remember after dinner when he'd go outside, my mom would be like, go quick. Go dump your food down the toilet. Don't let him know. You know, she was like super.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So that was where I made the connection. Just growing up with them and knowing what happens, and then it wasn't until I was about 20 or so that I made the connection with dairy. You know, with dairy cows and eggs and everything, and honey and all that.
Yeah.
Went full vegan.
A lot of us, you know, it's funny when we make the connection, we think, how did I not know that?
Yeah.
How did I not know, right?
Yeah.
But we're encouraged not to know.
Well, and we're so conditioned to think that, you know, animals are like chickens just lay eggs. That's natural,
Right.
and so why not? Because
Right.
they're not doing any harm. They normally lay eggs, and just like cows, like, well, they produce milk.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Let's address this myth about chickens and eggs. Because, you know, the backyard chicken thing is a thing, right? People have a lot of backyard chickens, and people often think that, you know, hey, I'm just going to have, you know, my neighbor has chickens and they're happy and they're pets, and so we'll just eat their eggs. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is a big trend because people think it's the right way to do it, you know, where you know you know the chickens, you know where they, you know, but it's if you go back to, if you start from the beginning, like where did these chickens come from? They all came from hatcheries that where they mass produce them, you know, billions and billions of chicks, and then they get shipped by the, you know, hundreds of thousands and millions throughout the US.
But they shipped as in it like a cardboard box, like just shipped like you'd ship a book.
Babies that are like a day old.
Little baby chickens in the post.
Yeah. And they ship them to feed stores all across, you know, the U.S. Obviously, this happens outside of our nation, but you know.
Yeah.
And then feed stores have chick days, and people go and buy a bunch of baby chicks, and they can pick, you know, whatever breed that they want. You can even order them online and have them shipped to you. In fact, oftentimes when you do that, just because they know that they don't oftentimes make it through the shipping process, they'll shove a few roosters in there, because roosters are just a byproduct and they mean nothing to, you know, cost wise, they just want to get rid of them. So they'll shove a few boy chicks in there with them just as padding for the hens that you ordered. So that if in case there's any, you know, that end up dying, then they've replaced them with a few that are alive. You know, it's really unfortunate. So, I mean, there's that, and then also chicks, or the boy chicks are a byproduct, like I mentioned, and most of the time they're ground up alive. You know, ground up alive or gassed because they're not wanted. Yeah. But
and so when we think about backyard chickens and like egg production, chickens aren't, we've genetically modified them to produce
20 times the amount of eggs that we normally would.
20 times the amount of eggs that they normally would produce.
Yeah, and because of that, it actually creates a lot of reproductive problems. And in fact, it's so bad that we use chickens in laboratory testings for humans for ovarian cancer and reproductive cancers and issues, because they're so prone to getting that they're like the most perfect candidates. So yeah, and then another thing too is most people don't realize that chickens can live to be like 20 years old. but oftentimes
Did you know that? Did you know that a chicken can live to be 20 years old?
Yeah. And at least well into their teens. We've had some that, you know, Darlene is 11, and Dottie, who was one of my dearest friends, passed at 16.
Wow.
With good care, with proper care, they can live quite a long time. But in a backyard setting, most people who have backyard chickens don't give them the proper vet care. Oftentimes they just randomly die, is what most people think, like, oh, they just died, I don't know, old age, but usually it's at 3 to 5 years old, and that's oftentimes when reproductive issues start.
Oh, okay, interesting. And I know a lot of vets aren't particularly well versed in treating chickens.
Yeah, a lot of vets aren't. There's even if you go to like avian vets, oftentimes they don't know chickens really. Chickens are very confusing. They're very complicated. They are so prone to so many different kinds of ailments because what's going on? Because they've been so selectively bred that we've bred so many issues into them, and being that they're prey animals, they hide it so well. You know,
very stoic.
They're very stoic.
Yeah. So roosters. I mean, they are the underdog. Everybody thinks of roosters as being kind of like these badasses, right?
Yeah.
But they're not treated well. They're dumped a lot.
Yeah.
I see you post on Facebook a lot about people dumping roosters because part of it is they get these what you called oops roosters when they're used as padding for shipping.
Or if in the feed store, sometimes it's not 100% chance when you buy, you know, it's even the pullets that are supposed to be sexed.
Right.
Often, like, there's still a 10-15% chance that you could end up with a rooster.
Right.
And then even some feed stores do sell straight runs, which are chicks that aren't sexed at all. So you're taking a gamble. It's a 50-50 chance whether you're gonna, but they're cheaper, and so people they're not educated at the feed stores what they are, and they're like, oh, these ones are cheaper, we'll just get some of these, you know. Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and then roosters are discriminated against because, you know, they do crow. They don't just crow at dawn. They crow a lot, and so city ordinances either will ban the roosters outright or they'll be subject to the noise ordinance, which is then how the neighbors will encourage people to not have their roosters. So the upside of that is that roosters and hens make really good house pets.
They do.
Talk to me about that. How do you keep a rooster or a hen happy in the house?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it actually, I mean, I've had house chickens for almost 15 years probably, and it's really not hard at all. They love being in the house. In fact, sometimes when we have like a injured bird or someone that, you know, is dealing with like sickness or something that needs to come in, or just had surgery, they come in for even like 3-4 days, and they are almost like miserable going back outside. They want to come. They want to come back inside. Yeah. Well, they get like fun treatment. They love being cuddled. They love this, you know.
Chickens, I've learned that they're really affectionate. I mean, they're amazing parents.
Well, look, she just like came up and sat on your lap. You know, she's just sitting so like falling asleep. And she's beak smacking. She's beak smacking.
What is that?
So when they beak smack, you probably have seen him do it a few times, where they kind of go. Yeah. That means that they're very content. They're very happy.
Oh, hey, that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's a good compliment.
You're a happy chicken. Yeah. Thank you. And these chickens are all wearing diapers. So, you know, people who are concerned about mess in the house, you actually sell chicken diapers, right?
Yeah, my mom actually makes it. It's all volunteer based. Sometimes we you know, people will donate fabric and stuff. We're always looking for things like that to make them. But yeah, we sell them. They're called chicken knickers.
Chicken knickers.
They're really awesome. They're very well made. My mom is a professional like seamstress. She's just amazing. So yeah, so she makes them, and then we sell them to support the sanctuary, and all the money, 100% of the profits go to Rooster House.
That's awesome. So you can get an inside chicken and give them chicken knickers. It's the best ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have 7 chickens living in the house right now. They're all wearing diapers.
I wouldn't know it. They're very quiet.
Yeah.
Very quiet and very sweet.
They are.
So, so talk to me a little bit more about running a sanctuary, running a rescue, like, you know, there's a lot of people out there who want to help. And, you know, I think every second person I talk to is like, if I won the lottery, I'd start a farm animal sanctuary or something like that.
Yeah, it's very glorified.
So tell me the real story.
Yeah, it sounds really great. You know, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but oftentimes people have this idea that it's about cuddling animals all day. And, you know, there's that part, and you have amazing connections and friendships, and, you know, it is wonderful. It really is to be around this many animals. And, but there's the reality part of it too, the part that, you know, where they came from, and knowing that this is happening out there so often, the getting calls, you know, of animals in distress or being dumped or, you know, being neglected or on their deathbed somewhere. You know, there's the grief of losing friends so often, especially with chickens, you know, because like I said, their bodies are so complex that they do end up with a lot of like diseases and illnesses and issues. You know, it's very heartbreaking at times. It's very emotionally and physically draining too. You know, we work a lot. It's a 24/7 job. I mean, not just like cleaning up stuff and everything, but just even things like building habitats and making sure that, you know, their life is enriched, you know, full of enrichment, and that they're happy. And there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of physical work. There's a lot of emotional investment.
Yeah. Tell
me how you take care of yourself.
It's something that I struggle with. It really is.
Yeah.
Because it is a 24/7 job, really. And oh my gosh, she's so cute. It is really hard. I think it's actually something that I'm really just recently started really like working on. So sleep is very hard because, I mean, not just because we live with roosters, you know, they all want to crow at 3 a.m. sometimes, but also just the anxiety and of like so much to do. There's so, you know, the world in itself just being like it's hard just sometimes just knowing that, you know, this is just a small fraction of the animals that need help out there, and we're so thankful to be able to help these guys, but there's so many more out there that need help, and sometimes it's hard to not like feel like you're not doing enough, like you need to be, you know.
There's that whole thing of you know, the world isn't stopping. The world doesn't stop for me to have a nap or, you know, to take a vacation, or, you know, and you know, you can't save every chicken on the planet, right?
You have, and it's really hard
capacity that you have to deal with. And this is something, by the way, everybody out there who does not run a rescue, please understand that rescues do not have unlimited capacity to receive animals. They rely on volunteers, they rely on foster homes, and sometimes they simply have to say no. They simply don't have the room or the resources. So please, you know, by all means reach out to rescues, get their support, get their advice, get their help, but be prepared also sometimes to find other avenues where you can home an animal, even if it's taking them in yourself as a foster, because honestly, I've seen it in the horse rescue world. I see it everywhere. It's like these facilities reach capacity and then have to deal with a lot of fallout from people saying, well, why can't you take more? And so that's a very real constraint that resources, that rescues have. Not to mention the fact that you're volunteers, right? You have to, like, go find a place to volunteer, people. Go volunteer somewhere, because
volunteering is huge.
Or send bunches of money so they can employ people. Right? if you don't have time, send money. So, because that's always going to constrain how much good a rescue can do, is how much help they get.
So true. Thank you for saying all that. I mean, I haven't had a day off in like over 3 years. Like
Jenny hasn't had a day off in 3 years, people. She needs more volunteers. So I think you should all come out and volunteer here.
We are actually looking for some closers.
Nice. So what's involved in opening and closing here?
Actually, it's like the best part of it, I think, because well, opening is, I think, a little bit easier. You basically just get to like open them up their coops in the morning and let them all out and say good morning and fill up their water and food, and you know, sometimes there's medication involved, but usually we deal with that. Yeah. And then closing is typically they go to bed on their own, like in the coop. You know, they know where to go, so it's usually pretty easy. We just have to close them up and put up their food and water to make sure, you know, just to stop or to prevent like rodents from coming too much. And yeah, it's pretty easy.
It's easy. It's easy. And it's beautiful out here. I mean, honestly, if you are working a corporate job and you just need somewhere to breathe and to have a peace and a serenity and just be fed while you're helping, this is the kind of place to come and do it, because it really is. I mean, you can't help but feel like a weight has come off your shoulders when you come out into the forest here, and these beautiful beings are also grateful and sweet. And you know, Jenny's saying it's not hard, so it's definitely something to consider, right? I mean, there's the dog and cat shelter, yes. There are the horse shelters, yes. There's the farm animal sanctuaries, yes. And there's a Rooster House Rescue. So you train people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we would train,
okay.
Yeah.
Do they need chicken experience?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that not being incredibly fearful of birds would be a good thing. But
be scared of birds. But then you get birds like Piglet here who teach you not to be scared of birds.
And they all have potential to be like Piglet. It's just most of the time they haven't been like accustomed to humans. They don't know, or maybe they had a really hard life and they don't trust humans so well, you know. Yeah. So I mean, but this guy lost his toes, you know, with frostbite, and he was so fearful at first. Yeah. And now, I mean, he goes with us to cycle dogs, and he's our little outing kind of boy. You know, he loves
mascot. Cutie patootie. So yeah, so that's, you know, that's always an easy way, you know, even if it's just one day a month, come out and help with closing or opening. You know, if you want to adopt a house rooster or house chicken, I wish I could show you her butt, because she's got the cutest little, I call it a nappy. It's a diaper, chicken knickers on. But yeah, you can Piglet. Piglet, can we turn you around? We're just going to show you Piglet's butt. Look at that little butt. It's so cute. She's such a good girl.
And he's got his little handsome one on.
And he's got his little handsome one on. Look at his butt. So cute. Chicken butts. You're very sweet. You know, I was talking at the Animal Rights Conference once. I was talking to Scotland Hazley, who's fairly prominent in the animal rescue world. And he said the connection that he made to go vegan was he was actually working at a shelter, and you know, taking care of companion animals. Yeah. But had been called out to rescue a bunch of chickens, and of course they couldn't keep them at the shelter, and so he had to drive them somewhere to take them to a chicken sanctuary. And he had been working all day, and he said that he was so hungry. He had this van full of chickens, and on his way he just drove through the drive-through at KFC, and he had this big bucket of drumsticks, and he said he took one bite out of a drumstick, and it suddenly dawned on him
what he was doing.
That, wait a second, who I have in the back of my van
is who I'm
eating. Who is in my bucket on my lap. And that was kind of his big connection and epiphany, and how he went vegan. So but they're amazing birds. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to help?
They can message us on Facebook, or message us via email, which is either info or jenny@roosterhouse.org, and it's Haus, like the German spelling. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. And what kinds of supplies? So if somebody wants to donate, but they don't want to donate cash, for example, if they have, what kinds of things do you need?
It's always changing. But we do have an Amazon wish list.
Okay.
That I don't know the address because it's like / a bunch of numbers.
Just look for the Amazon.
Hello.
The Rooster House Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. And we do have some of those. Sometimes we need like vet wrap and certain kind of medical supplies creams or that type of stuff. We're always in need of building material. Actually, that's probably something we could probably mention. Any kind of like 2x4s, 4x4s, because we did just move here a year ago. We're still building permanent enclosures for them. We're about 3/4 of the way through with most of it. So yeah, it's coming along quite nice, but we could certainly use like lumber and stuff.
Yeah, good. So I'm gonna circle back to the backyard chicken thing for a little bit, just because if you have backyard chickens, I know that you're probably doing it because you feel that that's a humane alternative to commercial eggs. But ideally, we would like you to not eat their eggs. What do you do? These animals have been modified to produce eggs. What do you do with the eggs?
So, a couple of different things. With the eggs that they lay, not all of our hens lay eggs. Some of them are implanted. But the ones that still do lay eggs, we feed them back to them.
All right, so you feed them back. Is that like raw, or do you cook them?
You can do it raw or cooked. We used to do it. Are you shaking your tail feather at me? Thank you. We used to cook all of them, hard boil or cook and then bake the eggs and stuff. It gets after a while of not eating eggs, it just gets really gross.
Right.
So raw, it depends. But right now we don't have a lot of hens that lay eggs because most of them are implanted. Implanting is kind of like an IUD for humans. It works amazing for chickens, if you can imagine, because they are so prone to, it's like having your period kind of like every single day. So so they really do save their life being implanted. It stops them from laying eggs, and it gives their body a chance to like replenish and regenerate and really work on like growing nice feathers in, or
because producing eggs every day actually depletes them quite a lot.
It's horrible. It's horrible. It does a number on on their bodies, not just like physically but internally. It really does deplete. Strips their bones from calcium because of the shell. They have to come up with like building that much, calcium in the shells. So a lot of times they'll end up with osteoporosis at a really early age.
So many things that we don't think about, mainly because we're encouraged not to. But so having them implanted gives them a new lease on life. What are some of the ways that people can handle a rooster in terms of, like, they do crow a lot, so obviously if you can have a rooster inside, it's going to be less disruptive to your neighbors, but some people say that you should buy those rooster collars. Tell me about those.
Rooster collars, they might work, but they can do a lot of damage. The way that they crow, they have air sacs instead of like lungs. And so they'll fill their air sacs up with air and then let it out as they're crowing. It's like slowly like coming out of their air sacs. So the thing is though, if with something constricting around their neck, it can actually stop as they're pushing it out. It basically prevents the air from coming out. So it can either damage their air sacs or just cause them to like kind of burst. I've heard of it happening. I obviously don't use crow collars, but it has happened, and we very much don't agree with the no crow collars.
That's good to know.
After a while, you just kind of get used to their noises. They all have their own sound. It's kind of like they're singing in a way, and then having them inside, really does help as far as like neighbors not,
Yeah.
you know, if they do,
Yeah.
if they are heavy crowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do some roosters just not crow as much?
Yeah, some
Okay.
roosters don't.
Yeah.
And
You have the introverted rooster and the extroverted rooster.
kind of, yeah. They all have their own individual personalities.
Nice.
But sometimes they'll crow because they hear someone else crowing.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends. I mean, there are so many house roosters that we follow, like on Facebook and Instagram,
Right.
and a lot of them don't even crow.
Isn't that
Like I
interesting?
just heard, I don't know if anyone's heard of Boo the Roo.
Boo the Roo.
Boo the
And
Roo.
Brie and me.
Yes.
Those are, like I
There's
follow
so many
Brie
good
and me.
ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boo
There's
the Roo.
Roo
I'm gonna
friends
follow him.
in Southern California. Like there's so many. But Boo the Roo is a Cornish cross.
Okay.
And I just heard him crow for the first time. She posts videos like almost every day, and she finally posted a video of him crowing. I've been following him for like years, you know.
Wow.
And I had no, like, and she's like, hey, he doesn't crow that often, but when he does, this is what he sounds like. And it was the cutest crow, and it was barely even like loud, and you know.
Oh,
So it really
adorable.
depends on the bird,
Yeah.
and certain things might instigate them to crow a little bit more or less. So once you kind of figure that out, then you can kind of like deal with it.
So it's managing their environment, really, a lot
sometimes,
of it.
yeah.
What about, I mean, you've got a bunch of bachelor flocks.
Yeah.
They don't fight, huh? They all get along.
Yeah, they really do.
It's another myth.
Yeah, we stopped actually calling them bachelor flocks because bachelor kind of implies that they're all waiting for like a hen. And you know, they are
They're
families.
just boy flocks.
Yeah, they're just rooster flocks,
Yeah.
and they and their families. They love each other, and that's their families, you know.
Nice.
We have our largest flock of roosters is 10.
Okay.
And then we have like a flock of 6, a flock of 7, a flock of 4, a flock, you know, then we have a few paired ones.
Okay.
We have multiple rooster flocks. So
Nice.
yeah, and they get, I mean, there's sometimes little scuffles, but
Right.
usually it's hens.
Right.
Like if you put a hen in there, then they would
Then they'll scuffle.
yeah, they would maybe like want to protect or be the
Hey,
top
Piglet.
dog.
Come here, Piglet. Oh, no, she wants to go somewhere else.
I do what I want.
Exactly. She says, I have no autonomous being. So, this is awesome. Jenny, thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. Thank you for doing
I'm
this.
thrilled by what you do. And I want you to have some more time to yourself
Someday.
and some more support. So I would love everybody to just please support Rooster House Rescue.
Thank you.
They do a lot of really good work. And
Thank you.
I've learned a lot from you. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Because I think that it helps me be a better advocate for the animals.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah, she's going to jump on your
Is
head.
she probably? Come on, Piglet. Come here.
Oh, let's see if she does.
Come here. She usually does, actually.
No, she's like, let me just peck you instead.
Look at good stuff on there.
I thought, yeah.
She's also got cross beak, so her beak is like,
yeah, she's
yeah,
very,
soft.
very sweet.
Yeah.
They're very sweet. I'm kind of in love with chickens now. So, anyway, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
of course.
And everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm going to show you a couple more of the little chooks here.
Here, I can grab Mary.
Come here, Mary. Mary just had surgery not too long ago.
Yeah.
And she had surgery for like a prolapsed uterus.
No, she had EYP, which is egg yolk peritonitis, which is usually what backyard chickens will die of, and most people have no idea that it's going on.
Wow.
I had found her one day, kind of just not really acting herself, and her abdomen was really swollen and kind of like hard. So we took her in, they did x-rays, and they were like, no, she is full of like rotten egg material.
Wow.
Basically, like, she's an ex-battery hen.
Okay.
So she's had her like beak cut off, you know, that the whole works. But hi, miss. But yeah, so she ended up having to do a spay, and then they removed about 2 pounds of.
2 pounds. This is not a big chicken.
No, their reproductive system is between like 60 and 80% of their entire body.
Wow.
And that's not a natural thing. That's something that we've selectively bred into them.
Yeah, yeah.
So being spayed for a chicken is actually extremely dangerous. It's very risky.
Yeah, it's a little bit like horses.
Yeah.
But look at her. She's all healthy and happy now.
Great.
Good job, Mary.
She's doing great.
Good job, Mary.
We'll put her outside with her family in a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask Jenny to give me a tour of the rescue. So I'm going to go, and I might take some video and post that separately. So thanks, everybody. Anywhere that you are in the world, please have a wonderful day or evening, and we'll catch you on the flip side. All right, so Jenny's giving me a tour of Rooster House Rescue, and we're coming in to see some of the boys. Look how beautiful they are.
This is Osiris. He's the alpha.
Hi, Osiris.
Hi.
There's a blueberries. Look at them, how beautiful they are.
Osiris eats first because he's the boss.
Okay, who's the boss? He's eating blueberries, everybody. Yum! Look how big and gorgeous you are. You know, there's two industries that roosters, I think, really suffer from, and that's cockfighting and fly fishing, you said, right?
Yeah, actually, fly fishing is something that a lot of people don't think about. But, you know, his feathers, he's actually a perfect example of that.
Look
because
how gorgeous he is.
His neck feathers, those are very frequently the type of feathers that they use for fly fishing.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Manny.
Yeah, and it's not like they just drop them. They have actual farms, like down farms, right, where they pluck
pull
them.
right out.
Poor little guys.
Manny, come here.
Manny.
Come here, Manny. And Manny is an Acel breed. Come here, bud.
Manny's so tall.
Yeah, so he is a common cockfighting breed that they use for cockfighting.
Oh, he doesn't have the big ruff like the others do as much.
Yeah, he doesn't have like the undercoat.
Okay. Yeah.
Come here, buddy. He has very, very thin feathers.
Yeah.
Come here, bud. Manny's actually a flirt. But these guys can sometimes be a little bit bully, so he wants to hang out, but he's being a little nervous.
Yeah. Manny.
Now that I have blueberries. Here, boys.
What should people do if they suspect cockfighting?
Definitely call authorities. HSUS has a 1-800 line that they can call.
Okay.
But definitely the police is good.
Yeah. Call the police.
But you know, a lot of people think that once they've fought, or if they're the type of breed that would normally fight, that they can't be with other roosters.
Right.
And Manny is a perfect example of how that's not true.
Right. In fact, he seems to be almost like the underdog here.
Yeah, he's not, but he's kind of like just the neutral kid.
Right.
He's just like, he gets along with everyone here. He doesn't really have like a clique. Chickens are typically very cliquey, you know. There's hierarchies. But hi. Speaking of the low man, that's old Cy, and he is the low man.
Hi, old Cy. Keeping him, he's the low man up high.
Yeah. Manny, come over here.
So these little habitats have got shelter. They're fenced all the way around, and they have netting up top. So these chickens are protected from predators. They're contained so that they don't end up in the forest, and they have a bunch of room. They've got a really yummy little house there with their bedding in it, so they kept warm and dry, and they just are super content and happy.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
They're family. You want some, mister?
You're okay, buddy.
Hi, buddy. I'm surprised Manny's not flirting right now. Normally he's all over new people.
I love those the little happy sounds that they make.
That's called tidbitting.
Tidbitting. What a great sound. It's like I learned that gorillas gorillas sing to their food in the wild. They make
that's
happy
cool.
songs to their food. And so I think of the tidbitting is like the rooster's version of happy songs.
Right. You'll find when you do it with a rooster that has hens around, they'll actually pick up the food and make that noise and pick it up, and what they're doing is showing the hens where the food is. So they're taking care of their family.
How sweet.
Sometimes when you have a lot of roosters together, they'll just all tidbit together, like, no, here you go, here. They're all like trying to feed each other.
It's kind of like a roundabout in the Pacific Northwest, right?
He just dropped it.
You go. No, you go.
Yeah. So he just dropped it for Bellamy.
So sweet. Whoops.
Oh, Bellamy. He's the bully in here.
You're the big guy, huh? You're very beautiful. Look at your feathers.
Yeah, he really is. There's a few more kids over here. I'll toss you too.
Very sweet. All right, so Manny, the little dude in the middle, he's an emotional support rooster.
He is.
And he's certified. Tell me how a rooster gets certified as an emotional support rooster.
Well, I have a prescription per se from my doctor for an emotional support animal, and I've had Yoshi is my little dog. For years I had him. And Manny just really like makes me feel really great when he makes me feel my anxiety kind of goes away and stuff. So I asked my doctor if it would work if I was able to have Manny be my one of my emotional support kiddos, and he said absolutely. So we certified him. Yeah,
nice. So, but he stays here on the sanctuary, right?
Yeah, he has come out with us during some events, and sometimes he comes inside. Actually, when we have work parties, we always bring him out, and he just hangs out with everyone.
Okay, yeah.
He's a really sweet boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
How awesome. Look at you, Manny.
Manny boy.
Look how pretty he is.
He's very intuitive, too. He really is.
Yeah, a lot of people don't feel like they can connect with chickens. We were just talking about this because they're not mammals, right? They're not kind of furry.
Yeah, like they don't have as many expressions as like a mammal would that we relate to easily, like eyebrows and, kind of mouth movements and stuff.
Yeah.
But they communicate through their noises, which right now, if you can hear them, so there's a raven that just flew over, and that noise that you heard everyone kind of go, kind of dinosaur noise, that's their like alert noise, and they're kind of letting everyone know that there's a big someone's flying overhead.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Manny, for being an emotional support rooster.
He's great. They're all great.